De'Aaron Fox just got a max extension with the Spurs. And will Joel Embiid be able to return to MVP level as he was, a couple of years ago? And, is Jonathan Kuminga going to actually be on the Warriors the entire year next year? So let's talk about those three things in today's live stream. So first, let's talk about De'Aaron Fox. He just got a 4-year max extension, which when they traded for De'Aaron Fox, it kind of seemed like a done deal, so to speak, that he was going to get the max extension. Like, although we didn't hear, and obviously they technically can't do it, but we know that things go on behind the scenes. It kind of seemed like there was some kind of talking behind the scenes before the trade that they probably were going to extend, De'Aaron Fox after trading for him. And I believe when he was traded, he said that he wanted to stay long term. So like clearly there was, mutual interest and things that were talked about. So it kind of seemed like a done deal. He was going to get an extension, and I guess I thought it was going to be a max extension. I didn't really think about how much it was going to be. But obviously we knew it was going to be a large number because De'Aaron Fox is in his prime. Then the Spurs get the number 2 overall pick, and they get Dylan Harper, which they did not expect to happen, right? So when that happened, there were kind of question marks around. Some people were questioning, like, will De'Aaron Fox get the max extension now? Because they literally, although, Dylan Harper has not played in the NBA yet and hasn't proven that he is going to, be just as good as De'Aaron Fox, if not better. But just because of that dynamic, there were a couple of question marks, I was hearing that, like, people were like, is he going to get the max extension now? Just because, obviously they were going to extend him, but was he going to get the max because of that? Well, he got the max. And again, I'm not surprised. I'm not shocked. He played enough to earn it, right? And again, Dylan Harper could be better than De'Aaron Fox, and when his career is all said and done, we will see. But he still has not played an NBA game yet. So, like, I think it would be a little, not silly, but kind of just like, why would the Spurs lowball De'Aaron Fox when they just traded for him in order for him to be part of their sort of long-term future with Victor Wembanyama? Because De'Aaron Fox is like 27 or something, and Victor is obviously like 21, but De'Aaron Fox is still clearly in his prime. And like I talked about in the last live stream, NBA players' primes are being extended. So De'Aaron Fox could be in his prime until like 36, 37, right? So that would give them like a 10-year window with a prime De'Aaron Fox, right? Just hypothetically. And by that time, in 10 years, we expect Wemby to already, be in his prime. And we kind of already feel like he's a little bit in his prime, even though that's obviously, not really fair because he's only been in the league 2 years. So, like, he still needs time to even get better. But, like, obviously the expectation of Victor Wembanyama is that, a decade from now, he will have won maybe multiple championships. And so, like, again, lowballing De'Aaron Fox at this point, if, that was, going to be the case, wouldn't make sense to me because De'Aaron Fox is still a very valuable player. And now we'll get to see a full year of him and Victor Wembanyama playing together and see how their tandem works. And then, of course, Stephon Castle got a year better because he just, won Rookie of the Year. And so he has more experience, and they still have a lot of young, growing talent and picks that they could potentially trade for somebody else. So I think it made sense to give De'Aaron Fox the max extension. And then obviously we'll see what Dylan Harper ends up being in his career, but they also have time with him because, again, he's a rookie. So, like, they don't have to, and this is also why I feel like the De'Aaron Fox max extension makes sense, because Dylan Harper is going to be under contract on his rookie deal for 4 years. So if Dylan Harper has the breakout season or whatever in year 2 or 3, that he's still under contract. Like, they don't have to, like, worry about that right now, like making a decision. Who should we have as our future point guard? Dylan Harper or De'Aaron Fox? they'll see in the next 4 years. Now they have a 4-year window with both of them, and they can, mix and match and see what works better with Wemby. So I think the De'Aaron Fox extension makes sense. Again, kind of expected. And so now we will have a full year to see what the Spurs look like this year. They're going to be fun to watch. Like, they're a team to watch. I thought last year they would be a team to watch. I felt like they could have made the 8th seed. Now, obviously, that didn't work out that way. Wemby obviously, missed all the games after the All-Star break, but it didn't. I don't know if they were gonna, make the 8th seed at that point. I don't know if they were gonna be a top 10 team, but I say a lot to say. Obviously, when Victor Wembanyama misses all the games after February, you're not gonna have a great shot at that. So this year, everybody is healthy, right now, and we will get to see what they look like. When they play together for a full 82-game season. And I'm going to go back to what I said last year. I expect that they could be a top 8 seed. Now, the West is loaded, so I know it's really hard to be a top 8 seed because, and this is funny because the over-unders for every team, I don't know which odds makers made the over-unders. I don't know if it was like ESPN or one of the, the sports betting sites, but like the over-unders recently came out for win totals for the season for every team. And I didn't memorize everybody's win totals, but it seemed like in the East, when you looked at, I believe the Cavs and the Knicks had the 2 highest win totals. And when you looked at the numbers and you like calculated in the East, because obviously in your conference, you will play that team, or rather in your conference, in the East and West. Like, the Knicks will play, I'm not trying to be mean, but a lot of us don't expect the Wizards to be that good, right? So you'll play the Wizards 4 times, right? 3 or 4 times, depending on, your schedule. If you're in the West, you're oppositely, if you are the San Antonio Spurs, since we're talking about them in this video, you have to play the Thunder 4 times, and then the Rockets 4 times, and then the Lakers 4 times, and the Clippers, and the Warriors 4 times, and Denver. And all those teams are competing, and they're all really good. And then you have Portland, who's trying to get better, right? And you have, we'll see what happens with the Kings, like, majority of the teams in the West are, like, trying to compete. So what I'm saying is, like, when you look at the over-unders, again, nothing is guaranteed in the NBA, and I'm not trying to disrespect any NBA team, but, like, you would think if the Cavs or the Knicks get to play the Wizards 4 times, you'd think they're probably going to win at least 3 of the 4 times, right? If you go to the West, and again, you're the Spurs, do they, like, I don't know which season series they win. Like, when you got to play OKC 4 times or the Rockets 4 times and Denver 4 times, like, do we think that they're going to win 3 of the 4, maybe, or 4 of the 4, of those matchups? And the answer is probably no. And that's nothing against the Spurs. But what I'm saying is, like, in the West, getting to, like, 60 wins, maybe for, like, a couple teams will be achievable. If that, like, I'm sure the Thunder are a team that have projected 60 wins. I'm not sure. But for majority of the teams, it's going to be, like, so close again. Like, you could be an over 500 team, but still be, like, in 10th place because everyone's going to be so close. And everyone's, like, a lot of season series are going to be split, like, 2-2 because the teams are just that good. So I say a lot to say. It's going to be hard for any team in the West to, rack up a lot of wins. But I still think the Spurs should be better, and I thought they should be better last year. And so I still give them a chance to be a top 8 seed. We'll see how the season plays out, but, like, they have a lot of things, going for them there. And obviously Victor Wembanyama is the centerpiece of that. He just looks like everything that we expected him to be. So with his talent, I mean, the future is so bright in San Antonio. So moving on to Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid, of course, a couple of seasons ago, he was the MVP. And after his MVP season, he came back even better. I know that's hard to believe, but he was even better, and it was not even close. It was actually insane how good he was. Then he gets hurt, and like since that time, he has not been able to stay healthy, and he hasn't been the same. And part of the reason he hasn't been the same is because he just keeps rehabbing from injuries, so he can never be fully in basketball shape. Like, if after the injury he had when he was looking like potential back-to-back MVP, Joel Embiid, if after that he never got injured again, I could see him being back to that MVP level, because it's not just that he doesn't have another injury, but it's that he can literally consistently work out and play the NBA game so he can get in rhythm and all that kind of stuff. Like, it's not just the fact that he's, having to rehab all the time and he's not, in full strength, but he's not in rhythm. He like can't play with his teammates. Like, Paul George, Maxey, and himself, I think only played like 16 games last year. So there's a lot of, different reasons as to why Joel Embiid's numbers, were not that good compared to his other numbers. And he obviously was not healthy. So a report came out, allegedly there is concern around Joel Embiid's, injury. And so I don't know what the concern is. Like, I don't know if the concern is that he's not healing at all. I don't know if the concern is more so like he's not going to be the MVP level again. We will just have to wait and see, of course. But Paul George already got hurt, and the season did not start yet. And Paul George is going to be out for a little while. I don't know if he's going to be back, when the season starts. He shouldn't be out too long after the season starts, if I remember his injury correctly. But he might not be back at the beginning of the season, but maybe he will. I don't know. But we already had Paul George hurt. And if Joel Embiid's injury is not, healing the way that they hope it does, I don't know what it looks like for the Sixers with Embiid for the future. It's really sad because Joel Embiid is really that good. He really, like, talent-wise, like, he is that good. But, like, the Sixers, you go from Joel Embiid and then the whole Ben Simmons situation. You trade for James Harden. That gets messy. And now it's Paul George, and Maxey has been awesome. So that's the bright spot. Maxey has been awesome. So they do have a bright future. Jared McCain could have been Rookie of the Year if he didn't get hurt. And if you watch this page, I think VJ Edgecombe is going to be one of the best players, if not the best player in the draft. So they actually have bright spots despite, the potential concerns with Joel Embiid and Paul George. So they actually are in a decent spot, whether they have to end up going in more rebuild mode, or if they can still contend. I think they they have a good mix where, like, not that they want to rebuild, but they do at least have talent where you could see, like, Maxey is clearly an all-star caliber player at the minimum, right? And again, I think VJ Edgecombe is an all-star caliber player at the minimum also. And we'll see what Jared McCain is. So you got two, and one basically guaranteed, because we know Tyrese Maxey is an all-star caliber player from how he's played. So you have two all-star caliber players already, in my opinion. So that's not bad, even if you have to rebuild, even if it ends up not working out with Joel Embiid and Paul George, because at least you already have that. Some teams don't even have that when they go into rebuild mode. Like Milwaukee, for example. Now, obviously, if you trade Giannis, you're probably going to get an all-star caliber player back at the minimum, right? Because it's Giannis, but technically speaking, they could go, have a Giannis trade in the future, and they could not have an all-star caliber player, and they're in complete rebuild mode. They don't have any picks. Like, they can't draft any, potential superstar. Like, they literally don't have their picks. So, although obviously Giannis would get them a haul, they could end up with literally, well, they will get picks obviously in the deal that they do, but I'm just saying hypothetically, like, they technically don't have an all-star caliber player if they trade Giannis. Now, again, probably get one in the deal, all that, but I'm saying, like, the 76ers are kind of in a okay position if they have to transition. But we really hope Joel Embiid is healthy and Paul George is healthy so we could see this team and what they could be. Because I know Sixers fans are like hoping that this team could be healthy. Like they just want to see a full year of Joel Embiid healthy and what he could do in the playoffs. Somebody said they're in trouble. It's looking tough for the Sixers, but again, they do have some bright spots. So hopefully it can, get a little bit better from them. So with that being said, the last thing I wanted to talk about was Jonathan Kuminga. A report came out today that Jonathan Kuminga is probably expected to be on the Warriors this season. I think the report's a little bit misleading. And the reason I say that is, if you haven't been following the Jonathan Kuminga situation, it's kind of been known, I guess if you want to say so to speak, that the Warriors basically shut down sign-in trades because, they weren't liking the offers they were getting. And I think also with the sign trade, there were some complications because of Jonathan Kuminga's potential salary. And so it wasn't just that, they didn't like the offers, but there is, certain complications when you take back certain money and you do a sign and trade. So I think all those things were just making it a little bit too messy, and obviously they couldn't agree on terms. Apparently Kuminga and the Warriors, front office couldn't agree on the financial terms. So like it was a whole bunch of different things, allegedly, as to why it just kind of, stalled. So the report of Jonathan Kuminga being on the Warriors next season should not be shocking. But again, I think, they try to make headlines by saying it like that as if it wasn't already kind of known. So what I think the headlines are trying to say, and basically what we kind of know, is like at some point, I believe the Warriors and Kuminga will come to an agreement on a deal. And if Kuminga is still unhappy, and if the Warriors are unhappy with him, again, things could change during the season and everything could be going swell. And so maybe it will be a happy, partnership. But if things are still not, in good stance, I believe, like I said, they will come to an agreement on a contract, whatever it is. And then at that point, again, if they are both still unhappy, both sides, they will trade him mid-season where there are more options, and, they'll probably get a better deal than what they're being offered right now. Because right now teams are kind of set with their roster. Mid-season is when teams are like reevaluating their roster and what they need or what they want to, do. So that is kind of, where I see it going. Again, it might end up being a happy partnership. If you watch this page, I'm a huge Kuminga fan. I think he has superstar potential written all over him. So like, it's tough. Like, I really feel like he has that superstar potential, but maybe the Warriors are not the best fit for him. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But the point is, like, I think the report of him being on the Warriors next season is not really a report. I mean, it is a report, but like, it's not surprising. It's just that he might get traded mid-season, and that's kind of why he'll be on the Warriors, but he might not be there the whole season. So someone said they're worried Luka is going to lose some post strength because he lost some weight. I don't think he's going to lose any strength. Like, clearly he's working out and working hard, so he's definitely going to still have muscle and be strong. Like, I don't think he, lost so much weight that he's going to lose his strength, right? Like, I think he's still going to be fine. And if anything, losing some weight makes it easier on his joints and stuff like that to be able to move around and maybe not get injured as much, because, the more weight you carry, sometimes it's harder, on your legs, on your feet. It's just like extra pressure. Like, it depends on the person. Everyone's body's different. Everyone carries weight differently. But for some people, and maybe for Luka, because he has had his share of injuries, the lighter weight will make it easier on him not only to move around, but maybe make it lighter on his joints so that they don't feel as much pressure and he won't get as injured. But we'll see. But I think Luka will be fine with his strength, so I don't think you should worry about that. So thank you guys so much for